Hey, PAC family, this is Pastor Dave. I hope you're doing well. So, today we interview Mike Dunn to hear his testimony and how God has changed his life. And you'll catch a couple of nuggets that I thought were really impactful and just very meaningful in his story. So, stick with us as we do our interview with Mike Dunn. So, I wanted to hear your testimony. I've heard bits and pieces of it, but I thought it would be cool for the church to hear it too.
What parts do you want to hear?
Well, I guess let's see. Let's go with the overview. When did you get saved?
1974.
Okay,
It
awesome.
probably was before you were born.
How did this? Oh, definitely. Yeah, I was going to say. So how did that happen? I mean, what
Well,
drew you
my
to?
wife got being friends with a neighbor girl who was going to this church, and
Mhm.
she was saved, and she kept asking my wife to go with her, and my wife kept saying, "Nah, I'm not interested." So finally, when they were having a night service, and she gave in, she said, I'll just go to pacify her, and I'll put them in their place down there." So
Yeah.
so she went with her, and she came home saved.
Really?
And yeah, she couldn't believe how kind everybody was to her. So,
Hmm.
so then she starts on me.
Oh man.
And I said, "Oh, come on, give me a break. I got other things to do than go to church." So I gave in, and I went down with her one time, and I came home saved. And from then on, I'm kind of happy that it happened when it did, because we had two small children,
Hmm.
and try to be as best of an example as you can be.
Mhm.
And I was kind of a little bit of a rowdy person. I was looking for mischief, and it kind of calmed me down a little bit.
Yeah. That
Got me
changed.
thinking in a different direction. So,
Wow. Yeah.
yeah, I think it was a good thing. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's been a long time, 52 years, I think it's been.
So you were saying like, okay, I'll set them straight. Were you thinking of the Christians in the church? Like
Yeah,
you're
them and the
off
pastor.
dome
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of had a bit of a little antagonistic perspective there.
I thought, my wife's hooking up with a bunch of wackos.
Yeah.
I got to protect her. And,
Right. Well, some people have a misunderstanding of church. They think that they might see something on the news, or they might see some bad example of church, or they might see a church that's not even a church. And then they say, well, I'm not getting involved in that stuff. And then you find out who Jesus really is, and you see that he transforms lives. So
he
that's
does.
great.
He certainly does. Every church has got people that are what they call extra grace, and people focus more on them sometimes, I think, than what the word says, and
Hmm.
it's totally different from what God says in His Word. You gotta be kind to one another, help one another,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, transforming people. That's a good statement. I was transformed. I
Mhm.
can't believe how
Mhm.
much different I think today than I did 52 years ago.
Mhm.
You know, oh, I can't tell you the whole history of myself, but
No, that's all
I
right.
was a little bit wild in my younger days.
Bit of a rascal.
Yeah, just getting into all kinds of mischief. I never got in trouble with the law,
Sure.
but I could have if I got caught. I did some
Sure.
stupid stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't even consider that kind of thing anymore. Maybe it's because I'm older, but I think a lot of it's got to do with being saved and knowing the Lord. But I had a very turbulent childhood. My father was an alcoholic and a very scary person when he'd been drinking. And consequently, I ended up with ulcers when I was 7 years old.
Oh my goodness.
They I had a lot of stomach aches. They kept sending me to the nurse's office. So finally, they called my parents and said, something's going on here. So they took me to the hospital, had a test done. Sure enough, I had a ulcer. And I mean, 7-year-old kid getting an ulcer, there's got to be something
Going
not quite right.
Mhm.
And
Right.
I was always afraid to say anything to anybody about the abuse and stuff at home because I thought it would get worse.
Sure.
So I just kept my mouth shut, and just let it build inside. And I was very angry at my father for a lot of years, And one day I realized that I had forgiven him.
Mm.
I don't know when it happened. I don't know how it happened, but I think it's when I exchanged him for my Heavenly Father.
Wow. Wow.
And gave him,
Wow.
I got him off the hook.
Yeah,
And from then on, we got along fine.
Wow.
He still drank till his dying day.
It's a shame.
And I used to be angry with him about the drinking, but as I older now and I think about it, he was in World War II and he was forced to do a lot of things he didn't want to do, and he wouldn't talk about it.
Mhm.
But he'd drink and it kind of calmed his nerves because I think it haunted him. And
That was sort of an escape for him.
yes, exactly. It got to the point though where it'd take him 3 beers to mow the lawn, 2 beers to change the oil in the car.
Yeah.
You know, it's that kind of thing. He always had to have a buzz, and he was
Mhm.
very on edge all the time.
Oh.
So the Lord took care of that too.
Wow, that's incredible. So you're now on the worship team, and how long have you been playing?
Oh, that's a whole nother story.
I mean, we love the banjos.
When I was about 12 years old, well, my mother was always after me, said I needed to go to my room all the time. So I paid in the bathroom for a guy many years. I was about 12 years old. He didn't have the money to pay me, so he gave me this guitar with 5 strings on it.
Mhm.
And he showed me how to do this little ditty, and I practiced. Because I was in my room all the time. My mother thought I was evil. And that's how I started playing when I was about 12 years old. And then I got hooked up with a neighbor kid, and his father played. And
Okay.
just one thing led to another, and we just did it for fun. And I still do it just for fun.
Mhm.
And consider myself a back porch musician.
Well, that's great. We're very blessed by your contribution to the worship team. So appreciate
I
that.
enjoy doing it.
Mhm.
That's what I have to offer.
Yeah, well, it's a lot.
I'm
Thank
not a
you.
preacher. I'm not but I play old music.
Yeah. Did your wife write a book? I think she
My
wrote.
wife wrote a book, and that will tell you pretty much our
Also,
story. You know,
how about that?
I came out of a turbulent childhood, and I was very angry for a lot of years. And I come to realize that God was blessing me left and right after I got out of that family situation.
Mhm.
My family started coming along, and I did get a job at the post office.
Okay.
And I got a job. I worked there for 34 years.
Wow. Wow.
And I was able to retire when I was 55 with 68% of my wages.
Yeah. Wow.
But there's so many things I've been blessed through the years. Because as a Christian, I look at other people as being needy sometimes. And I try to be an encourager.
Mhm.
And what I can do, if nothing else, I can encourage somebody or maybe help them somehow physically.
Mhm.
And that comes back to me hundredfold, you know.
What would you say to anybody who is struggling with forgiveness? Maybe they've had a past where they've been hurt in similar ways or different ways, and they're struggling with forgiveness, and they.
Well, forgiveness isn't for the person that needs forgiving because they might not even know they did anything wrong.
Mhm.
Forgiveness is for us.
Mhm.
As you forgive, you could be more at peace.
Mhm.
Because nobody's perfect. Everybody's going to mess up, and they're going to irritate you or offend you.
Mhm.
And so you just got to kind of go into friendships and into churches knowing that there's going to be somebody that's going to really irritate you.
Sure.
I try and treat them with dignity and respect, even though they irritate me.
Sure.
But yeah.
Yeah, I heard Bodhi Bakum, when he was doing a sermon on forgiveness, and he says, you're releasing someone from a debt. You're not paying them back for what they did to you. We have various ways of doing that, right? I withhold affection, I withhold, attention. I think he named something else there, but it's just interesting because he's right. There's so many little ways, all the way down to, here's an example that he gave that I actually used to do. I would cheer against certain football teams from people who I knew liked them that hurt me in the past. I would be like, I hope they lose because so and so likes them, and
humiliate them.
Yeah, that'll show them, and it's just dumb. And letting go of that is such a Christian thing to do. It doesn't excuse it. You don't excuse bad things, but you let go of the debt like Jesus did, because as Ephesians talks about, as He has forgiven us. So you can't look at the cross and say, well, my thing is too big.
Yeah.
So but it's not easy. So I appreciate you sharing that, because that is an incredible story.
Well, I've heard it said before that non-forgiveness is like you taking poison.
Yes, right.
And hoping the other person will die.
I think that was man, that was goodness, who said that?
It's a good example.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it just keeps eating away.
It's
at
so
you.
true. It's so true. It does more damage to you than the person in many cases. So yeah, no, that's great.
Going back to how God's blessed me, I wanted to play football really bad when I was a kid, and
Okay.
I was 140 pounds, 5'4", and they had some really big guys on these teams, and boy, one of them would hit me and it hurt. And I said, I don't want to hurt, so I'm not going to do that no more. So I got into the chorus in school.
Sure.
I like to sing, I like music.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a win-win situation because there was 4 boys and 85 girls.
Holy smokes.
Well, my wife was singing, and I was checking her out. First thing you know, we got to know each other.
Yeah.
And we'll be married 57 years, 1st of February. God bless me with her too. I mean, we don't have a perfect marriage, but when it comes right down to it, we really care about each other.
Right.
We protect each other to the death,
Absolutely.
But it's been a pretty good ride.
I think a lot of people, they think about the stories, like myself, Kurt, John, other spiritual leaders, and they're like, now they do the big stuff. And everybody else, it's like, how significant is me telling somebody about Jesus down the road? Well, think about that person who went to your wife, right? She told her about church.
Mm-hmm.
Your wife comes to you and tells you about church, and then now you're both transformed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that reminds me of a story about how there was an usher who he saw 2 boys. There was a tent revival going on, and he saw 2 boys walk away, and the usher went to go get them and bring them back and say, "Hey, come on in. You're welcome here." Something like that. I don't remember the whole story, but welcomes them back, brings them back in, and one of the they both get saved, and one of those boys was Billy Graham.
Oh.
And you think about, whoa, that preacher who's who gave the message and everything. What about the usher? The usher who went to go get those boys. We don't think we make that big of an impact, but God knows the big picture. So it just reminds me.
Might be very well mowing the lawn at church and bump into somebody.
Yeah.
And encourage them and plant a seed. The song "There's Room at the Cross for You," I love that song.
Yeah.
Because they don't know who wrote it, but the story behind it was a young man was going down to a river nearby, and he was going to take his life.
Oh my goodness!
And he was going by a church, and they were singing that song. And he stopped and he listened. And pretty soon he was up in the doorway, and he looked in. He went in. He sat down, and things evolved, and he became an evangelist.
No kidding.
So just from that song, I love that song.
That's stuck with me over the years too. Like just in the background of my head, just there's room at the cross for more. It's like. What a powerful statement that is. There's always room for more. There's always room.
And you think about how many zillions of people are ahead of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's still room for you no matter what.
That's how big of a sacrifice and how that Christ made and how valuable he is. And just, the fact that no matter what anyone's done, there's still as long as you draw a breath, you can be forgiven.
Exactly.
By Jesus.
Exactly.
It's just incredible. Incredible hymn. Yeah, no, that's great. That's awesome. Well, Mike, is there anything else you want to share with us, or?
Well, one little thing is, we'll never actually physically see the cross. That's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to operate mostly on faith.
Yeah.
Everybody that thinks about the Bible or church, they want logic.
Mm.
If it doesn't make sense, it isn't true.
Right.
Well, there are a lot of things that we don't understand when it comes to, the church. And we're trying to visualize the cross. I got the opportunity to visit Israel a few years back.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to walk on the same paths that Jesus walked on, was going along with his cross and stuff. It gave me the chills because to know that I wasn't there, but the feelings and the reality of it is still there.
I was going to say, you guys gave us a little bit of, what was it, sand from the tomb?
Probably.
Supposed sand from the tomb. I got choked up.
Yeah.
I was like, this could have been, maybe not. I mean, how many people have taken things from that area, I'm sure. But like, just to think about, that's where Jesus was, is incredible.
Yeah, we saw the tomb where they think he was laid. And I didn't want to leave. You could look in from a doorway, and I didn't want to leave the doorway. I wanted to go. our guide was a character. She was a Chinese lady, and she was a volunteer.
Yeah.
And she was telling about the tomb. And, Joseph in the Bible asked for Jesus' body. He wanted to put him in his tomb. So Jesus was buried in a borrowed tomb.
Yeah.
Okay. So she says, Joseph went home at night. He said to his wife, honey, he says, I'm loaning our tomb out. He said, Jesus, I put Jesus in there. She says, what? What is the matter with you? She says, we saved for ages to buy that. But and he says, calm down. Calm down. He only needs it for the weekend.
Yeah, that's right. Did she make that joke?
Our guy
The
said,
guy made the
I
joke.
think it was cool.
That's
He
awesome.
only needs it for the weekend.
Good for her, man. That's awesome. Well,
Yeah, we
thanks,
saw a
man.
lot of things in Israel,
Wow.
related to Jesus and where,
Sure.
places he prayed and
Mhm.
different things. It was awesome, just absolutely awesome.
I loved hearing about it too.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Well, Mike, thank you for joining us, and thanks for doing the interview. I appreciate
Thanks,
you letting me
Mark.
hunt you down and calling you up and say we gotta have Mike. We gotta have Mike on. And there's other people in the church I'm going to be looking for, and if anybody wants to jump on, share their testimony, let me know.
Well, I'll do another one sometime. I'll tell you jokes sometime.
Hey, I love that. You can tempt me with a good time. You can tell me jokes anytime, but we can do it here so other people can hear it.
Yeah.
So now.